The Romans conquered Egypt, crossed the Alps, and shattered nations in days, yet every attempt to subdue Scotland ended in retreat. 3 invasions, a legion fortress abandoned, a wall stretched 73 miles wide. Was it fierce warriors, or something more unstoppable? In this story of why lasting conquest here proved impossible, the true enemy isn't what you think. It's the landscape itself, and Rome's first defeat was just the beginning. In the summer of AD 84, Roman governor Gnaeus Julius Agricola led his legions deep into the north, determined to finish what Caesar and Claudius had started. The Caledonian tribes, a loose confederation with no single king or capital, gathered on high ground. Tacitus, Agricola's son-in-law, claimed 30,000 faced the Roman line. The battle that followed, remembered as Mons Graupius, was brutal and swift. Roman discipline and tactics cut through the Caledonian ranks. Tacitus records 10,000 Caledonian dead, for the loss of just 360 Romans. It was a crushing victory, the kind that had brought Egypt and Gaul to heel. Yet the triumph dissolved almost as soon as it began. The survivors, instead of surrendering, scattered into the wild. Tacitus describes them vanishing into trackless wilds and remote marshes, leaving no city to capture, no ruler to parade in chains. Roman pursuit led only into empty glens and forests, where the land itself seemed to swallow the defeated. There was no treaty, no submission, only silence and the endless hills. Agricola sent his fleet to circle the northern coast, a gesture of reach rather than rule. Tacitus gives the Caledonian leader, Calgacus, a speech that would echo through the centuries. They make a desert and call it peace, but the so-called peace never arrived. Within 3 years, the legions withdrew south. The battlefield was won, but Scotland remained unconquered, a hollow triumph, shaped by a land that refused to yield. The Scottish Highlands rise abruptly from the lowlands, forming a natural fortress of stone and water. The Grampian Mountains, with peaks often over 900 meters and Ben Nevis reaching 1,345 meters, stretch across the heart of the country. These are not gentle hills, but a tangled mass of ridges, cliffs, and steep-sided glens. For any army, especially one trained for open battlefields, the land itself becomes the first and most unyielding adversary. Movement is channeled into narrow valleys, each one a potential ambush. Unlike the Alps, where long passes could be tamed into roads, the Highlands offer no such mercy. Every route is interrupted by bog, scree, or sudden drop. Roman columns, dependent on discipline and formation, found themselves forced into single-file marches, exposed and vulnerable. Water divides the land as much as the mountains. Scotland holds over 30,000 freshwater lochs, from small pools to vast, deep lakes. Loch Ness alone runs for 37 kilometers, plunging to depths of 230 meters. It holds more water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. There is no bridging such a barrier with Roman technology, no fording across, no simple way around. Every loch splits the landscape, isolating regions and cutting supply lines. Forts built on one side could not be quickly reinforced from the other. Rain compounds every challenge. In the Western Highlands, annual rainfall exceeds 4,500 millimeters, nearly 6 times what falls on Rome. Showers can last for days, soaking leather armor and rotting food stores. Iron weapons rusted in their scabbards. In winter, darkness settles early. December brings just 6 hours of daylight, barely enough to march, let alone fight or build. For the Romans, the land was not just a backdrop, but an active, relentless opponent. In 122 AD, Emperor Hadrian arrived in Britain and made a decision that would echo through Roman military history. He ordered the construction of a wall stretching 73 miles from the Solway Firth to the River Tyne. Built of stone, 15 feet high and 8 feet thick in places, the wall was more than a line of defense. It was a statement. 80 mile castles, over 150 turrets, and 16 major forts dotted its length, manned by a permanent garrison of 9,000 soldiers. For the first time, Rome committed to a fixed northern frontier. The empire's reach would stop here, not at the wild edge of the highlands, but on ground it could actually hold. Far to the north, the remains of Inchtutil Fortress tell a quieter story. Around 86 AD, as the legions prepared to abandon their most ambitious outpost in Scotland, they faced a problem: what to do with their iron. Nearly 900,000 nails, about 7 tons, were too bulky to carry south, yet too valuable to leave behind for the Caledonians. The solution was drastic. Soldiers dug a pit 12 feet deep, filled it with the nails, and covered it with 6 feet of gravel. For nearly 2,000 years, the iron lay undisturbed, until archaeologists uncovered the hoard in 1960, many nails still sharp, still waiting. The buried iron stands as a monument to a campaign that ended not with conquest, but with a deliberate, organized retreat. Rome did not lose Scotland in battle. It chose to draw a line, leave behind its ambitions and its nails at the edge of the unconquerable north. Edward III arrived in Scotland in 1296 with the confidence of a king who had bent Wales and Ireland to his will. His armies moved quickly, storming Dunbar, capturing Berwick, and scattering the Scottish nobility. Castles fell in rapid succession, and King John Balliol was stripped of his crown and sent south in chains. On parchment, Scotland was his. But the land itself had other plans. English garrisons soon found themselves isolated, separated by forests, rivers, and a labyrinth of hills. The great army that had swept north now stretched thin across a country broken by water and stone. Every supply convoy faced a gauntlet, narrow passes where a handful of men could block 100, boggy ground that swallowed carts, and roads that vanished into the mist. The further north the English reached, the more their lines unraveled. Resistance did not end with Balliol. It shifted shape, taking root in the landscape. William Wallace, a minor noble, rallied fighters from glen to glen, striking at outposts and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. Andrew Murray did the same in the north. Their victories, like the ambush at Stirling Bridge, owed as much to the land as to the sword. English columns, forced to cross narrow bridges or thread through marshes, found themselves trapped, unable to bring their full strength to bear. Edward answered with more men, more castles, and harsher reprisals. But the cost mounted. Supply trains grew longer, the weather turned, and the land closed in. Each campaign ended deeper in debt and further from lasting control. In 1307, as he prepared yet another invasion, Edward died at Berg by Sands, within sight of the border. His bones never crossed into the country he had sworn to subdue. The English crown passed to his son, but the land remained unconquered, its defences etched into every valley and burn. On the fields south of Stirling in late June 1314, the fate of Scotland rested on ground few would have chosen for a decisive battle. Robert the Bruce surveyed the carse of Stirling, a patchwork of soft alluvial soil, tangled burns, and treacherous marshes. The Bannockburn itself, a winding stream, cut through the land, flanked by boggy flats that never fully dried, even in midsummer. To the north, the woods of the new park pressed close, hemming in the only approach from the English camp. Edward II's army, the largest England had ever sent into Scotland, numbered over 16,000, including nearly 2,000 heavily armoured cavalry. These knights, the pride of chivalry, expected to sweep aside Bruce's smaller force with a single charge. But Bruce had chosen his ground with care. The only route forward funneled the English into a narrow corridor between the burn and the marsh. The Scots, arranged in dense schiltrons, bristling circles of spearmen, waited on firmer, slightly raised ground. As the English cavalry advanced, the land itself turned against them. Horses plunged into mud, hooves churning the soaked earth into a mire. Riders lost control as the marsh sucked at their mounts' legs, momentum lost in the sucking ground. The heavy armor that made them invincible on dry fields became a deadly weight. Scottish spearmen held firm, their lines unbroken as the English knights floundered. Pits and trenches, dug in secret the night before, broke up the charge. The schiltrons, immovable as the land, repelled every assault. Forced back, the English retreated into deeper marsh, where many drowned or were cut down. By the end of the second day, the flower of English knighthood was scattered and broken, not by numbers or swordplay alone, but by a landscape that refused to let them pass. Bannockburn was not just a victory of men, but of marsh and water, a medieval echo of every invader swallowed by Scotland's ground. Today, the Highland Barrier still divides Scotland from the south, a reminder that landscape shapes destiny as much as armies ever could. In a world of shifting borders, true power often lies beyond the reach of conquest. Sometimes, the land draws the only line that lasts. Share your thoughts below.